Hey, everybody, it's Natalie Bencavanga, and welcome to another edition of Facts Over Fear. My girl, Jess Britvich, is with me again today, and we're going to be breaking it down. Jess, how are you?
I'm doing
Silly
good. Well,
question.
I mean, as well as we can be, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. There's so much to talk about.
Oh my
For those of
God.
you who may not know, Jess is a former social worker turned content creator who covers the intersection of internet culture, trends, and politics. And we've been having a good time together, just being a little unhinged, a little deranged.
The
But
only way you can be in these
it's the only
times.
way we can get through these things. So
Yes.
let's just kick things off here because I wanted to talk about the Olympics. Well, let me back this up. We've both been wanting to talk about the Olympics, but there's just been almost too much to dig into. And so I thought between the work that you do and the work that I do, talking about sort of the ways and how gender is intersecting in this moment is impactful. And so I just wanted to read you like a quick little clip from NPR. And this talks about when the men's American hockey team retreated to their locker room to celebrate the Winter Olympic gold medal. They were joined by a special guest from the United States, FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, what was interesting about this whole thing was Kash shows up in the locker room. And at the same time, I guess they had gotten some kind of phone call from Trump, who was basically saying, oh, I'd like to invite you boys to the White House, but I'm also going to have to invite the ladies or I'll get impeached. Like they were like, tee-hee, girls are gross energy. And then I guess the guys end up going to the White House and being served cold McDonald's, apparently. And then juxtaposition, you have the women's hockey team basically saying, we don't want to come to the White House. We'll dig into more of the details, but just first reactions on two things. Kash Patel being a frat boy
Literally.
on our dollar, literally. And what did you make of Trump's comment and how the men's hockey team overall reacted to it?
Well, first of all, Kash Patel, I would be so embarrassed if I was him. That video of him acting like having a beer and banging it on the table and got like looking like a middle-aged man at Penn State, like going back to like his frat and like leaving the kids at home. It was so embarrassing and just so cringy. But that aside, uh, there's a couple things that really frustrated me about the phone call and kind of just the whole rhetoric and the response and all of that around this. First of all, and I made a video about this, but just the complete and blatant hypocrisy in a lot of this. And this tends to come up in a lot of our conversations. The first thing, though, being Trump really framed himself as the savior of women's sports because he went on the smear campaign against the trans community, really putting a target on the back of trans athletes and pretending like he cared about women's sports, and that's why, and which we all, of course, knew that is not the case, that this was just a way to continue to marginalize a group, to try to other a group, to try to raise power, whatever. We all knew that, but to hear it in this moment and hear him on this phone call disparaging the women's team really, I think, highlighted that. And so I'm like, how in you one breath can say that you're a champion for women's sports and then say this in the other? And where's Riley Gaines? And all of these other anti-trans activists, who want to frame it that it's because they care about women's sports. Nowhere to be seen, of course, because we know that's not actually the point. But that really frustrated me. So that was the one point.
Yeah.
The second point is the kind of framing afterwards about how like these hockey players came out and all trying to make a defense of it, saying it's not political. You're talking to the president of the United States. How much more political can you get?
Thank you.
Come on. And then that's the thing, especially in this moment, nobody can afford to not be political anymore. Because back in the day, whenever things were whenever we weren't dealing with the idea that the president of the United States is part of a international child sex trafficking ring, maybe you could take the call from the president and say that it's just tradition. But now by taking that call, you're saying that that's not a deal breaker for you. And,
Thank you.
And that is a real issue. And I think that that continuing to normalize these types of things is what allow these atrocities to continue to happen.
Well, and I wanted to expand on that because to your point, there's of course now the, oh no, we didn't mean it, we're real sorry energy coming from the men's team. And Jeremy Swayman, this is from Yahoo Sports, he admits that the U.S. men's hockey team should have reacted differently to the controversial moment. He said, we should have reacted differently. We know that we're so excited for the women's team. We have so much respect for the women's team. And to share that gold medal with them is something we're forever grateful for. This was reposted on his X account. And then it was interesting because Quinn, who is, his brother Quinn, U.S. men's hockey stars Jack Hughes, who clinched gold with his famous OT winner, and his brother Quinn also addressed the matter. They explained how after Sunday's triumph in Italy, the American men's and women's team were celebrating together. Later on, when it was mentioned the U.S. women's hockey team declined the invitation, Quinn offered some thoughts. I'm glad you mentioned that. We're extremely happy for them. Obviously, there's a lot going around on social media surrounding our team and their team, but we did a lot of training with them and got to know the girls really well.
Okay. What's your point?
Thank you. It's like these non-statements that they want this
and that's what makes
we know girls exist.
Yeah, that's what makes it more upsetting is because you are friends with them. And I do believe that they are excited for them. And I do believe they have good one-on-one interpersonal relationships with them. And then in a moment like this, you're silent and you're laughing. And that's what makes it more frustrating. And I think especially as women, because I think we've all been disappointed by men in some capacity where as soon as they're around their boys or this boys club or whatever, it's clear where kind of their loyalties lie between the two. And I think that's what makes it even more upsetting.
Well, and I think it was interesting, and I can't remember which hockey player it was, but it was one of the women, and they were doing a press conference, and they started asking her, hey, what do you think what the men did? And she said, once again, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but she was like, once again, we should be talking about our victory, and instead I have to comment on how these men behave. Why am I having to and I thought that was a really fair point because once again, it's like they just can't get out of their own way. And then we have to clean up the mess. Mm-hmm. But then if we talk about having to clean up the mess, we're somehow the bad guy.
You're stoking division. You're making this too political.
Girl. Okay. So what I love is that Flava Flav, let's just start with that as the headline. This is from the Kansas City Star because I love using regional media outlets whenever possible. He's hosting the women's U.S. hockey team in Las Vegas after they declined Trump's State of the Union. It's the kind of headline the Kansas City Star writes that could only happen in 2026. The iconic rapper and longtime Team USA supporter, and we know that to be true. He's helped people get to the Olympics financially for a long time. He stepped in on Monday, trading a trip to the Capitol for what Flav promised would be nice dinners and shows and good times in Sin City. And now he's managed to get all these sponsors on board. So he's extended it to the Paralympics too.
Oh, that's great.
I know. And so it's just
who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yes. And also, wow, way to be an actual leader in this moment and saying women are amazing. I shouldn't have to do this, but here we are. Let me host you instead.
To think out of the 2000s reality stars, who would have thought that back in the day, whenever there's Flavor what was it called? Flavor Love. And then The Apprentice, this is where we would be at right now.
This is a wild ride.
It's a
sometimes I just stop. I mean, the things I've texted you over the last few days, I'm just how about this?
Wait till we get to the last one today, because that one,
it's just something. It's something. But I do want to turn the page here and talk about something a little bit more serious that still has to do, though, with gender and sort of the lens in which we talk and look about our relations between the genders. And this, I didn't pick up on this originally, Jess, and I'm curious if you had when you watched. I only watched pieces of the State of the Union address. I couldn't force myself.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't watch it at all. Whenever
and you know what?
Boycott, I said, say no more. I will.
Hero. But you're my hero.
I did pick up on, of course, the discourse and all of that afterwards.
Yes.
And the clips and
Okay. I'm going to read you a little clip because it warrants discussion. So this is from Huffington Post, but this was from Rachel Maddow's show on MS Now, formerly MSNBC. She said that Donald Trump luxuriated during his State of the Union address in the descriptions of the goriest things that have ever been mentioned in any State of the Union speech. Analyzing the president's address, the longest on record, Maddow pointed to his grisly rhetoric, much of it centered on stories about people killed by immigrants. Maddow said that Trump ended up slowing down, and particularly slowing down markedly for long stretches of that speech that were essentially sort of violence porn. The president talked about people being covered in blood, women being stabbed repeatedly, blood pouring out of things. He went into graphic detail, trying to give as much of a sort of gory detail as he could, talking about this in a way that was violently pornographic riffing that the president did very slowly through the back half of his speech. And I thought this was really fascinating because we have this sitting president who, like you said a little bit ago, is allegedly, a part of this international child trafficking ring. We're now hearing stories and seeing emails about cannibalism, things beyond, I think, most of us ever comprehending another adult human doing to a child or a vulnerable person, like a woman or a young woman or man. And so these things have been really hard to wrap our heads around. And then for Trump to get up on stage and glorify in some weird way this violence, and then for it to get to a point where Rachel Maddow feels as though this wasn't a passing comment, this deserves its own commentary. What do you think about the intersection of Trump and the relationships that he's had, the company that he's kept, and this desire for this insatiable sadism in some weird way?
Well, I'm not surprised that he kind of lavished in this type of language, because that's what we've seen him do on the campaign trail, on his social media, and it's how he's really othered a lot of communities by painting them as these violent criminals and these radicals and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it really kind of gets people to, it taps into their fear response, and it gets people to kind of tap into like these almost animalistic or like primal worst of humans, of ourselves, where it gets people to kind of lean into their biases, into a lot of times racism, and all more of just that emotion side instead of that logic. And he continues to do this to try to like deflect and say, look at the other, don't look at me. And I think that's, we've seen them do it to trans people. We've seen them do it to immigrants. The whole Maha movement in general is also using this type of fear-based kind of language and things like that to sway public opinion. But whenever you compare it to what he has done, or, what he's accused to have been done, it's, once again, it goes back to the hypocrisy of it all. And it's really nauseating, and it's infuriating, really, that it's kind of like I don't know, it's like a storybook or something, like the wolf dressed up and then, trying to distract you towards something else. It's really upsetting. And I think the language that Rachel Maddow used of describing it as porn, I think, is really interesting as well, too, because I think a lot of this
that was intentional.
Yes. What's your kind of I'll tell you kind of my thoughts, but what was your initial reaction, or why do you think she used that language specifically?
I think she is trying to help people connect dots. What I've always appreciated about her work, and I don't agree with everything that all of her takes, but you don't agree with everybody's everything, right? But what I've always appreciated about her is the simplicity in which she tries to break down a topic and also help you see how it might connect to something else. And she's been at this a long time. And so when she used those words, violence porn, there was a reason and an intent, because I think I am so shocked still. And I know this is because I think I'm a little older and I've seen enough that I just can't wrap my head around what I'm seeing sometimes, even though I know better, because it's like, this isn't how you run a country. This isn't how we were raised to think of our government, even whether that's true or not. There's just no level of decorum here at all anymore. The mask has been totally removed. The veil is gone. Men are talking about horrifying things in email, which I still can't get. There was no conspiracy here. There was no cryptic messaging. It was like, that was a great time lapse. Like, it's wild. So I think for her to use those words, porn is a blunt description of this. Violence in front of it marries what I think a lot of us are feeling already about the Epstein files.
Yeah.
So it's that, okay, you see this in his words, in his actions. This is who he is. And somebody else, I think it was Under the Desk News, they talked about how this is sadistic language. And for me, this is feeling like intentional wording to try to get people who maybe still sympathize with Trump to wake up and understand he's been lying to you. The economy is worse than it's ever been. But besides all of that, he is a monster. Right? So to me, it was trying to take what has been disassociated in people's minds and reassociating it. Because whenever I think of this, I think of Pam Bondi screaming, but the Dow is up 50,000 points or whatever she said. This disassociation of, well, my money's good. I don't care the cost.
Right.
I think during the State of the Union to talk about it in that way, and to also tokenize the murders of people. People are murdered, unfortunately, by immigrants, by people that have been naturally born in the United States. Like, I didn't understand, why are we handpicking? Because we could talk about how many people ICE has murdered and it would take us all night.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
so. It was intentional, Jess.
Absolutely. I think so too. And I think kind of we're seeing the pornification of everything. And I don't even mean that sexually, really, but I mean just the idea of the overstimulating of everything, of the attention economy, of really tapping into like the idea of content that's going to lead to arousal, whether it's arousal of fear, anger, whether it's trauma porn, or, we see violence porn, we see, outrage porn, whatever it is, it's kind of tapping into, once again, like that primal being and that commodification that, and I think it's how a lot of misinformation spreads. I think it's how we commodify a lot of these things. And it's not great for critical thinking at the end of the day. Too. And I think we're starting to see it seep into every aspect. I mean, not just online, but like you said, into now the State of the Union, into messaging, into how we shape public opinion as a whole.
If you're just joining me, I'm Natalie Bencavanga. I'm with content creator and just all around awesome lady, Jess Britvich, and we are breaking down the hot takes of the week. Speaking of critical thinking, there isn't a lot of that right now, especially with what's happening in the MAHA movement. I wanted to get your thoughts on this story from NBC News. It's titled, Trump's Surgeon General pick appears before Senate in highly anticipated hearing. Dr. Casey Means, a wellness influencer.
Ooh, of course.
Those words have no meaning anymore.
No. Did into that.
Yes. And close ally of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been tapped for the role of the nation's doctor. Dr. Casey Means appeared before the Senate on Wednesday in a hearing to discuss her highly scrutinized nomination for Attorney General. She faced tough questions around vaccines, contraception, and antidepressant use during pregnancy. She avoided direct answers. I noticed that too. That woman didn't give us a straight answer on nothing.
It was like satirical almost. It was wild.
Thank you. Instead, echoing refrains from the Health Secretary RFK Jr. and top officials, they grilled her on whether she believed that vaccines cause autism. She claimed that vaccines save lives and anti-vaccine rhetoric has never been a part of her message, but she declined to rule out vaccines as a contributor to autism. Can we please, for the love of Jenny McCarthy, can we please put this to rest, okay? Like, there is no correlation. They have done so many studies on this. Enough. Okay. But really what I want to talk about here is the fact that she was a campaign advisor, okay, for RFK Jr.'s presidential bid, in case you forgot he ran for president, everybody.
Oh.
And an architect. She was the architect of Make America Healthy Again.
Of course she was.
And her brother is a Kennedy ally and senior advisor to the Department of Health and Human Services. She's gained a lot of popularity because of her messages about outsized corporate influence in food and pharmaceutical industries. And of course, has skepticism around traditional medicine, including that hormonal birth control has horrifying health risks. And she also talks about the total burden of the vaccine schedule. I mean,
this is so scary. It's very scary.
I just sighed. I'm like, I have nothing. I mean,
it's like
share
exhausting.
with me, yes, your thoughts. Yes.
First of all, we'll go back to just the language around wellness influencer. And what I get so worked up about the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, wellness influencers. People turn to these things. And if you follow their advice, you are going to be less healthy. You are going to be less healthy.
Period.
These are grifters, and they're grifting their way all the way up to the top. And I really rolled my eyes whenever you talked about how she talks about the corporate influence in medicine and Western medicine, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. The wellness industry, the corporate influence in the wellness industry, in these wellness influencers just shilling who knows what's in these vitamins. They're not regulated. They're just false claims. It's absolutely absurd. It's absurd. And it really makes me angry because especially the Surgeon General, they're responsible for really shaping, once again, public opinion around a lot of these things. And so to hear somebody saying a lot of these things that are going to target women, like we're talking about the hormonal birth control, we're talking about a lot of
vaccine schedule.
The vaccine schedule, exactly.
Women
Mothers
take
make
care
a lot
of all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
And that really makes me angry. And I talk a lot on my channel about the link between clean beauty and the wellness industry and all that kind of stuff, and how it really is an alt-right pipeline. And a lot of it is through all this kind of MAHA stuff. And it makes me absolutely angry. And I've never seen someone be so obviously a grifter than her in the Senate hearing. You talked about it a little bit, how she could not, she danced around an answer about vaccines because it was so clear. I think the question was like, do you believe that the flu vaccine is safe and prevents death or something like that? She went on.
She wanted to answer it.
She went on for minutes. I mean, it was absurd because she did not want to say that she did not agree with RFK Jr.'s stance where he said something absurd about the flu vaccine. And it was such a, it was almost, it was like satirical. It was how they imitate someone on SNL who does a politician who doesn't want to answer a question. It was absurd.
I just want to wrap this up because I do want to move on to our next topic or our last topic before I let you go. I mean, I could talk to you all night.
I know.
Hello. She doesn't hold an active medical license, and she is not a practicing doctor. She stopped practicing medicine to focus on wellness and functional medicine. And we know functional medicine is another whole conversation. So just putting this in perspective, everybody.
I have to say one more quote that she said just because it's so absurd. She said something to the effect of, I believe that you need to listen to your body and not your brain. Or I started to feel better when I began listening to my body and not my brain. As if your brain isn't part of your body.
What is your brain then?
What
is it floating over there?
Literally, what are you talking about? And sure, maybe that's nice as a personal mantra if you're dealing with anxiety or something like that. I don't know. But not someone who's informing policy. Not someone who's informing policy. And that's what this all comes back down to at the end of the day. This needs to be based in science, and it's not. And it's going to cause even greater public health crises. And breathe.
Guys, stay with us if you want to feel great. We're really bringing out the sun today. I'm Natalie Pennsylvania. I'm with Jess Britvich. We're talking about all the crazy stuff that's been happening in the news cycle. And I wanted to end on something a little wild, okay? Because Jess put out this great post a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And it was these Christian energy drinks.
Yes.
And I thought it was fake. I thought you were making something up like a joke. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh no, these are real.
These are real.
Okay. So the Christians are cornering energy drinks. They're cornering all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Now they're about to corner the internet, but in a new, cool way. So I got this press release sent to me today, and it says faith meets 5G. And this is a real thing, you guys. Radiant Mobile, love it, teams up with T-Mobile to launch first Christian wireless service. They launches on the largest 5G network in the country. You'll love this, Jess. Combining faith, safety, and technology to protect Christian families and spread the message of Jesus Christ worldwide. Chris Clemis, a longtime ministry teacher, and Paul Fisher, a prominent talent agent, have joined forces. And it's going to represent a groundbreaking fusion of faith, technology, and entertainment built from the ground to create a safer digital environment for families while delivering uplifting, Jesus-centered content to millions. And in partnership with Allot, a leading Israeli cybersecurity company trusted by major global carriers, it will help block inappropriate material, including porn, explicit content, gambling, harmful digital influences. I'm wondering if we'd be in that list.
Exactly.
Just wondering. Unlike traditional filtering apps, Radiance protection is embedded into the mobile network itself. So like you cannot bypass or delete it.
Natalie, it sounds like you're playing Mad Libs right now. Like, that's how I feel.
Wait. When I sent this to you, though, earlier today, like, tell me, emotionally, like, how did you feel?
I've seen a lot of wild Christian grifting as well. In fact, I went to high school with this person and at the time, he was ahead of his time, I would say.
Listen.
And he was real into like the evangelical Christianity, and his thing was combining faith and fitness, and he was selling shirts that said his pain, your gains. And like, I thought that was
good.
I thought that was like crazy at the time. We have surpassed anything I could ever imagine. Christian energy drinks, and I say this tops, and I literally printed out the website and highlighted something because it's so absurd. It's so absurd. I need to just go through a couple of the things that I highlighted. Well, first of all, just the name. I mean, good for them with the branding. Some of their tiered packages, you could be a lifetime covenant member, which because
it costs money.
Oh, yeah. Of course it does. Of course. With that, you get VIP access to Radiant events, live streamed monthly worship and music experience, and my favorite, meet and greets with Christian stars. Like Jesus? Like, who are you? Who are you talking about? Like, I just...
How do we rebrand as Christian stars so we can infiltrate this?
Yeah, truly. The other thing, so the whole thing's unlimited 5G. I thought 5G gave us COVID. I thought that was like their whole thing. I guess not the Jesus 5G.
Touché, right.
The Jesus 5G is better than a vaccine.
This one is protected by prayer.
Yes, exactly. Once again, the language. I think what's so interesting. Oh my God, I'm like...
No, I love this. This is amazing. This is show and tell, everyone. She printed it out. I just want us all to take that in.
So funny. The language. And, this could really tie through this is similar to language we heard in the State of the Union. Similar to language we're hearing in this type of like Christian influencing. The type of language that we're hearing really everywhere. And it's this idea of taking back America, taking back your health and wellness, taking back whatever. And it's this like invisible fight. And once again, the othering of whatever they deem left or whatever. And it's right here in this marketing material too. Take back the internet for God's people. And I said in here, it's so MAGA coded, like this marketing. It's really interesting. And once you realize that, you'll start seeing it everywhere. And it's propaganda is really what it is at the end of the day.
You and I have been talking about like we want to do some kind of a get ready with me video together.
Yeah.
I think we should do this topic.
Absolutely. I love that.
This is the one. Like let's talk later this week and like because this is evergreen. It's launching on Easter, everyone. Yeah. So we have time. I think we should do something on this together because this is feeling really it's so sinister, but it's also so funny that like it really works.
Yes, because it's hilarious on the surface, which makes it like, okay to engage with and talk about and not like feel like I'm just going to burn out like every second.
Right.
But the deep messaging of it's scary. It's this rise of Christian nationalism and this commodified Christian nationalism. It's weird. So yes, let's definitely do that. And so stay tuned.
I'm down, guys. Part 2 coming at you. I would just want to thank everybody for joining us. I see Commander Cool says, great energy, ladies. See you on the next one. Good stuff. Keep doing these. Oh, we plan on it. We got We got some plans, okay? Jess, I really appreciate you, as always, for taking time and getting into good trouble with me. If people want to learn more about what you do or follow you in all of your endeavors, where can they go?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Substack, and TikTok at my name, at Jess Britvich.
Amazing. And make sure you guys that you subscribe to both of us above. And if you want to be a paid subscriber, it's the same price as a latte, which right now that's about $7. But if things keep going the way it is, could be $50. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Choose your own adventure. But I really appreciate everybody that tuned in live. If you came late, don't worry. I'm going to be recording this and posting it later tonight. And as always, everyone, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks again, Jess.
Thank you.
Bye.